of the FIDE World Rapid and Blitz happening live as I speak right now, 27th December 2025. They are playing in Qatar, Doha, and looking at Magnus, who had lost previously to Artemiev Vladislav. Now he's playing this chap, Shant Sargsian, something like that. Um, we're going to cover this game in particular, board number 1, but of course we're going to go to MVL, Gukesh, Nihal Saren. There's so many good games happening, and including Hans Niemann. We can look at that fella too, Fabi, of course, Nordibek, you name it. As a bunch of super strong players. Games are fascinating. Now we can notice knight on e7. It's double attack on the d5 y pawn. So 2 knights attacking. So that makes me think perhaps you're going to do c4. Or maybe not, because once they capture, we could say that actually the bishop has a free way to attack. So we can debate actually on this one. We can actually debate if white should play c4 or not. That's a very good question. But Magnus does not defend. Actually, he goes for central attack with d4. Interestingly, because one may inquire, what the heck do you do after something like e4 though? Sorry, I think it's a legitimate question that you may ask. What's going to happen after e4? I don't see what's the rationale behind it, but of course, if Magnus played it, most certainly he got a plan on this one. So, yeah. Okay. But there you go. There you go. So he saved the knight, f3 over to d2 now. Double attack on this guy. And the only way to defend it twice would be if you actually place the queen on f5, if that's satisfactory for black to play, having the queen over to f5. I'm not sure that's actually the most legit, the most logical, acceptable move, but it's an idea that springs to mind immediately if you think about defending f5. If you think that is important, probably you need to consider this kind of stuff. Sorry, I've forgotten. He's playing for Armenia. Yes, that's the Armenian flag. 11 minutes versus 13 minutes for Magnus here. So you guys tell me who you're rooting for, and we're going to go watching the game. Okay, let's have a look at MVL and Vladislav Artemiev. Now I'm going to go to board number 2, my dear friends. So this is the fella. This is the troublemaker. This is the guy that upset Magnus. Vladislav, this fella. Can I believe that? Magnus upset now. Big time upset. Cool. Actually going to make it more exciting, that is. Vladislav now with the blacks, MVL with the whites. I like this bishop. I always like this bishop. Now the question is if black would be interested in playing something like bishop e6, because if bishop takes and pawn takes. Yeah, that's a weakness forever. That is true. But at the same time, you open up f. You think that's justifying? Rook AB. Anyway, the rook didn't do a great deal of nothing on the A file, so he relocated the rook over to the B file. And I suspect it's more than that. Probably it's something to do with at some point pushing the pawn. Not now though, because it's 3 defenders for that one. If you need to speak, I need to stop the microphone. All right, so back now. Where were we? Now, we established black is not able to playing b3 now because there's already 3 white defenders for that particular square. But anyway, I think it's good prophylactically to getting the rook on the b and then pushing the c5. Getting the c pawn running down, right? Maybe. Perhaps. And then maybe something like this. Yeah, we can speculate about these ideas. They might be employable. Other than that, what do you play? Bishop g4? A pin is always good. It's always good to make a pin if you have a chance. Bishop g4, why not? The onus is on white to unpin if they can, if there's even playable. So now this does a couple of things. This knight f3 to d2. It's like MVL understood that actually bishop g5 could have happened, but now it's not going to happen because queen takes straight away. And amongst other things, this knight also completely discourages black to play this kind of stuff. Maybe we're going to see something like knight to c4. Right now, that is. I think right now knight to c4 makes a lot of sense. If bishop takes, I guess you're going to take back with a queen d1 takes on c. And when knight captures, you're going to take with the bishop. Then maybe bishop e6, you're going to take, they're going to take. That's that. There you go, knight to c4. Makes a lot of sense, no? And if it's confirmed by MVL himself playing the moves we just said, that means that gives me a fake confidence in my own ability to think the position. Yeah, probably we're going to see a couple of trades taking place. By the way, I missed the game in which Vladislav beaten Magnus. We can peruse through the moves at some point. If you got a favorite one that you're rooting for, we can go. Just type me a message. We are on YouTube and Twitch today. I gave up a little bit of TikTok because it gave me big headaches. There's no freaking chat that I can access in a unified manner. You could see now. And they said that the access, I need to reapply for the access to be able to stream on the PC. It's like actively TikTok makes an effort to discourage one guy like me that wants to stream chess to using their platform. So I'm not satisfied with TikTok currently now. They give me headaches and annoys me. So now I'm staying with the YouTube and Twitch for the time being. Okay. Blacks to play. I guess you can. Then queen takes. Is this a draw? There you go. I did anticipate bishop takes c1, and looks to me you may want to take with a queen. Just to keep an eye on the g5, not allowing the black queen actually to play on g5. That's one idea. Let me go back with your approval, guys. Well, I can't have your approval anyway because, yeah. But anyway, Magnus back to Shant here, Saxian. Let's see what the boys did. Rook takes, queen takes, of course. That's a forcing move. c6. Do you guys think a move like c4 would be preferable? No, he played the queen back. Why is that? Is he intending on knight to h5? Just wondering. Do you think that might be the case? Knight to h5. Knight takes, queen takes. c4. I don't know. Maybe. You got to develop your pieces anyway. Bishop d2. That's another idea. You need to develop your stuff, regardless. 3, 4, 7, 4, 3, 7. So equal number of pawns. Now, we could say a little bit of an advantage is that white is having the bishop pair, if that means anything. So we've got two bishops. Let me use some blue paint here. If you keep press the Alt keyboard now button here, it gives you blue-ish. So we've got the bishop pair for black. Still, you got to develop your pieces. And if you don't like c4, I guess white can consider c3 and make a nice pawn structure. And then the bishop is very versatile itself. Just can move along the a4, d1 perhaps. So c3, then maybe some bishop c2 and stuff. Queen. Queen e6. The heck is that being played for? Dude, you gotta play something with a bishop, man. Maybe bishop d2. Maybe what? Either c3, bishop d2. What's gonna happen? So the black knight is pinned, right? What about, just saying, what about bishop c3 now? Knight can't really capture because the queen would be taken. Guys, what do you think about this idea, placing your queen in a pin yourself? I assume this fella, Sean, when he played queen to e, actually he want to claim the e file, right? That makes sense. Wants to claim the e file, but puts the queen in a pin. Puts the queen in a pin. Just in another order here, probably we're going to see some bishop c7. Maybe we're going to see some bishop b6. That bishop is also quite versatile as well. Bishop c7, bishop b6, very much playable. You can play with that bishop c7 and b6. But once you play bishop c7 or bishop b6, you could potentially then get the rook active on the e file, preferably. So he ain't that bad now for Saxian Shant playing for Armenia. Not that bad. Not at all. So here we are. Interesting. I like it. Shall we have a look at Mr. Gukesh, the current World Chess Champion, playing Anton Guijarro, David from Spain. That is why I try to stick to the original pronunciation. If that's the case, I don't know, but I guess that's how they say it. Guijarro. That's how the Spanish say it. If there's any Spanish fella or speaker, feel free to correct me. What the heck is going on? Rook a to a6. Like, okay, probably he fought getting away from this kind of trouble. When I say trouble, I say the bishop on g2. This is a very interesting situation. Let me tell you something cool. From the point of view of Mr. Anton here, if Mr. Anton Guijarro plays something like bishop to f3, potentially he might be able to open up the g. It's a semi-open file, right? It's a semi-open file. And maybe some b3, maybe some bishop b2. I'm not sure. I'm not very clear about this idea. But the intention would be, I'm just imagining, if you manage to get both rooks on the g file attacking, maybe there is something to consider there. Okay, he gets rid of the bishop, which is sort of like blocking the g file. Now, the bishop attacks the other bishop, so you have to react to this. You can't... Jesus Christ. Now, that is such a cool idea. You know why? The rook now defends the bishop. So this Gukesh guy, when he played rook to a6, actually, he also thought about this. But boy, that is just getting interesting. I think this is actually more exciting than the game Magnus himself plays it now with that fella. Now, this is something interesting. The GM playing for Spain, Anton Guijarro. I like it. Look at this fella. Bishop b7. Now, rook attacks the bishop. I assume you've got to go somewhere. If that somewhere means, yeah, probably you would have lost the pawn if you stopped on d5. So he goes on f3. Okay. He nicked the pawn, by the way, fellas. Anton snatched the pawn from Guki. I think Gukesh is a little bit frustrated. And another idea, you might be able to push some a3 and send this guy away. I don't know where. A, C, you name it. Is it going to go c2? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe you can. And then rook a, b, and then they maybe jump on e3, attacking the rook, and then maybe you're going to play rook g1. Again, exerting pressure on the g file. There's all potential sequences in the near future, whatever that means. Okay, let's have a look at board number 6, guys. Liam playing for Vietnam is playing with the Blacks, and Hans Niemann for the US. US versus Vietnam on the chessboard, which is way preferable than in any other circumstance, going versus each other. US versus Vietnam on the chessboard. That's good. So, what is Liam going to play? Well, I don't know. First thing, I don't know. Secondly, I will know because either they're going to play it or I'm going to find the move myself. Maybe with your help, I would be able to find it quicker. The heck is going on here? Rook and two knights and queen, obviously, versus two rooks and the knight and some weird double pawns on the F and isolated pawn on H. It's interesting and it's very sharp and dangerous, but that's how we like it, I guess. I'm also looking at this guy, the Black Knight on E7, potentially. What do you think? I'm just trying to draw a couple of moves here for the Black Knight on E7. If you were to go G6 and perhaps H, then maybe you might have some attacking chances on F3. That's one idea. There could be others as well. I'm going to tell you something. Those knights are trouble, big trouble for white. We'll see. This is actually quite an interesting attacking point. If the Black Knight makes it on G6 and potentially H4 for the F3, that is something, I tell you. If there is any checks on the back rank, I guess Liam can just get to H7 perhaps. I mean, you sort of will have to. But let's just get there because it's not very clear how exactly white is going to achieve that. But let's just see. US versus Vietnam on the chessboard, which is good. What else? So many good games here. You guys tell me who you're rooting for. We got Wesley, we got Eric Gaisi, Arjun, Daniil Dubov, another amazing, Pragnananda. I mean, there's so many good, incredibly powerful grandmasters. Jan Nepomniachtchi playing. I mean, Dominguez Perez. It's very difficult to just single out one particular board. I'm going to go back to Magnus because I'm being biased, subjective, and hey, I did say Bishop D2 for Christ's sake. Didn't I say that? But he didn't move it straight away as per my faulty plan. Firstly, he goes F4, which again, can't really take, right? Because of the bishop capturing queen. Then shan't play bishop c7. If you guys remember, I did speculate about bishop to c7 because that also allows the black rook to getting a bit more active. Queen to f3 now. Also, Magnus prepares the white rook's circulation on the back rank, but you can't go on the e, you see. Rook on e, I did say this one as well. Hey, I predicted both moves for both players. Bishop d2, and now it makes a lot of sense. You know why? Because bishop d2 allows white rook to go e1 and hit the black queen, actually. That's why he played bishop d2, because he want to develop, he want to get the rook on an active file, you know. You don't want to go behind the d pawn or something like this. So preferably, the rook want to come here. And bishop d2 is the defender. Now you're asking me, what would I play if I were black here? Probably something like queen d7, because rook e1 is very much what's going to happen if you keep that black rook on the e file. So you better drop it on the d7, perhaps. I'm meaning this. Let me use red paint. Nah, that's not a good contrast. Blue paint back. This queen d7. And then hell. Rook e, rook takes, bishop takes. How can I say? Maybe a draw after all. Again, just reminding you guys that Magnus lost the previous round against Vladislav Artemiev. Oh boy. You know, underestimating It's not a good choice, not a good plan. But I guess psychologically it happens. It happens, no? Come on, Magnesito, what is he doing? Look, this is a bit of a weird move. I'll tell you something. This bishop to d8 from c7 to d8. Is that any clear plan for you guys? Why did black play bishop d8 here? Really? Why did they do that? Like, why? Who's taking the what? Why is that? I'm sorry, I don't get this one very clearly. Jesus, now I got it because these guys are super grandmasters. That is why. He actually anticipated c4 coming and he wanted to make space for the knight to go to c7. Sorry for being slow in understanding this, but that's exactly that is the answer to the question I posed previously. So the main reason, amongst others, because they're probably not the only one, but bishop to d8 allows after c4 threat on the knight, vacate the c7 square for the black knight. That is that. Now we could say rook e, let me just put the blue paint again. We could see rook a1 to e1. That's one. And that's what I would play. 3 minutes 50 sec less for Magnus here. And probably that is something he's gonna do. Here's something he's gonna do. And there is another one. Yeah, I just wanted to, yeah, well, he was faster than my thinking. Of course, he's the GOAT, right? There was a couple of ideas. Even now, previously, I was thinking about this one. You see? But he went with d4 to d5, which, anyway, attacks the queen. And he will open this stuff. Look at this. He will. Well, I assume you take back with a pawn, no? You take back with a pawn. And we're going to see stuff like this. Of course, they're going to take, right? Just move the queen. I don't know. You tell me, what do you think, fellas? Is he going to play queen or is he going to capture the pawn? I don't know what to say. Yes, 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 yes. My senses said that the wisest thing to deal with this kind of threat is actually dropping queen to d7, which it did. It's too dangerous to place yourselves in nasty pins here, following, this kind of stuff. You remember, guys, I think I said like 20 minutes ago that the good stuff for white here is that it's got the bishop pair. I mean, look at this. And if you want to take it one step forwards, also we've got this. These bishops are very versatile. This is, wow. Not mentioning this. Jesus Christ, look at all these threats now. Guys, look at this. If you are to slightly improve the white piece's position, well, not freaking slightly, going to be a little bit more. I would get actually the knight from g3 over to f5. That's where I would like to have the knight. One. This is big attacks. This is absolutely devastating. Okay, queen attacks the bishop. True. That is true. But I don't think we should be perhaps panicking too much. It's got to be a way to defend against the threat. Maybe bishop to c2. Maybe. No. Interestingly, queen to d. Huh. Look, I didn't expect this kind of stuff, but was it something? Is he planning on? It's not clear. Nonetheless, the queen defends the bishop. But a little bit surprising. I guess queen goes back, you see. So what do you play now? Queen d3 for knight f makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense. Notice, guys, how the bishop on d8 is very, very clumsy, very unhappy, very frustrated. The bishop on d8 is really, really not very useful in its current position there. What do you do with that bishop? The question is, where do you want to move the knight on f6? If you want to move the knight on f6, given the fact we got this enormous pressure. Again, knight to f5 is very much playable. As soon as you go queen d3, something like queen to d3 would be a perfect invitation for knight to f5. And it's a lot of problem there for black to deal with. I can see MVL and Vladislav Drew. Gukesh with Anton still fighting. Nihal Sarin with Cristobal. What is this? Is there, let me see the Chile. Okay. Queen f3. Huh. Queen f3. Interesting. What is Magnus gonna do after, say, queen to b5, I wonder? I don't think you're gonna do threefold repetition, no? It's a good point. I guess Saxi and Shant would be super happy with the threefold repetition. I don't mean it's gonna happen, but just saying. Just saying. Oh. Okay. Hmm. What do you do with the rook on a1, though? Where do you get that rook? Well, it's black's turn first thing first. I think white, from a positional point of view, given the bishops, white's position is better than black's here, and the chances for attack are definitely in white's favor. I hope I'm not being subjectively inclined to just give Magnus a better interpretation on its current pieces and stuff, but it looks to me white should be having stronger attacking chances here. It does have stronger attacking chances. Let's go back to Hans Niemann and Le Liam. The more black trades, the less optimistic might get. But two rooks is two rooks. Two rooks is two rooks. If now black captures on g3, almost certainly we're going to have rook e3 takes on g3. Enormous pressure and attacking power on the g file, including g7. And you always have something like queen to g6 check and then checkmate on g7. I don't know what you're doing here. Again, I think trading is not a good idea for black. I don't even know if you have a good idea for black here. Maybe you just need to delay with some queen to g5. But then again, this guy takes and you're going to take back with a pawn. Nope. You don't do nothing about it. He tries to get maybe knight in a better position. Maybe. Getting the knight on a5 is painful. It's painful because that black knight that Lelian played it on the rim, that black knight needs 2 tempi just to attack something. 2 tempi. I'm not sure if you got the luxury to afford yourself 2 tempi to do something. 1 and 2. Because that black knight wants to go to c4. And if you want to do something painful for black, you only need to play b3. And all of a sudden, the black knight is useless. Is useless. You play b3, the knight had been denied c4. They're going to have to go back. Back to square one. If white takes on g4, we're going to see pawn taking, not queen. Pawn. If rook takes, you can't take with a queen because of this kind of stuff. But anyway, getting more and more difficult for black to defend. I'm not sure if you can defend this one for too long. I think black's position going to collapse. Okay. Yo, let me go back to board number 1. Okay, let's see that. Is there anything wrong with bishop c2? What's wrong with bishop c2? This is the best move you could possibly play. Aligning your bishop on the same diagonal with the black king. Now, if the bishop now want to take your guy, I guess they're free to. If the knight wants to take your bishop, that's fine. You're going to take back with a pawn, I assume. I don't think you want to take on f6 because you're just simply helping black to get their own bishop. Now that's interesting. Rook to d, defending the weak pawn. Okay. Well, this is a pin here. They try to kick away the knight. Where do you go? You go this way? You could, I guess. Or you're going to play knight h4. Knight h4. Knight h4, let me tell you what I like about knight h4. What I like about knight h4 is that white attacks actually the f6 twice. And I think the knight on h4 does a little bit of nice pressure on g6 eventually, where you could attack at some point furthermore with, whoa, knight takes h6. This is brill, because f6 is going to fall now. Yeah, that's why he's the GOAT. You found it. Of course, he took on h6. He's going to infiltrate on the dark squares now. There you go. There you go. Okay. White's winning. Let me give you another idea. Yeah, well, you don't want to trade now. I think you need to refuse the trade. You don't want to trade, right? Unless he sees a clear way to grind in the end game and win. So let's imagine queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes, pawn takes. Are you happy with this? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's very clear for white that they're going to win due to just simply pawn's position. There's still a rook on the board, though. So if you want to avoid the trade, maybe queen f4 check. Yes, he did. That's what I would play. Now, if you want to go a bit more simplifying, yes, you take it, and then you try to just simply attack with stuff like this. Just attack the pawns, grab a snatch, an extra pawn. These are weak pawns. There you go. There you go. I got this one. That's what I would have played. The previous 3 moves exactly my choices as well. What does queen b4 do? Well, attacks a weak pawn, attacks another backward weak black pawn, and white is winning now. I guess this rook also may go on the c file. Let's see. There is no point of access for the queen on the e because the rook is there. Yeah, you could try this one, but I don't think that's a problem. Yes, rook to c. That's exactly, and I did say that indeed. Rook to c. Potentially, you might be playing this kind of stuff. If there is any check, takes, you move. But the white rook on this 7th rank means that the guy gonna fall, this guy gonna fall, and white is going to have 2 pass pawns on the A and B file. So I don't think black has any chance now. And if you look at the time, you're gonna see they're also facing a big dilemma here. Time constraints makes it very difficult to stay in the game. I don't know if he now resign or anything. What happened, fellas? Let me see. Give me a sec here. So queen attacks with b4 attacks b5, queen e2, rook to c. Rook attacks queen, queen to c3 check, and move away from the rook's attack. Now let's see what Magnus plays. If you want to snatch another pawn, if you can afford the luxury, so to speak, you could go with queen to c8. They could either defend with the rook or move king, all right? And then you could take on b7. Ooh, Checkmate in a move, fellas. Magnus finds this kind of stuff. Queen to f6 and preparing rook to c8 check and then checkmate. But black just stopped it with rook c4, so as per not allowing the white rook actually to go on c8. Queens came off, and now white is even clearer. They're going to be winning. Why? Because this pawn will go forwards and forwards and forwards. So there's double pawns, weak double pawns, and that pass on the d file can't be stopped really. Okay, king could go forwards and try to, I think you should just push again. Nope, he actually goes for two weaknesses at the same time. Very practical, isn't it? Very practical. Because actually what the rook want to do is check and then grab another pawn. And when you take here, you're going to take again. So that practically clears all the pawns, ensuring that these guys have a free passage and this and that. Nah, this guy not going to make it because there is the f pawn that going to take straight away. It's perfectly fine here for white. Now, in the minute you take, probably they're going to play a check. Or maybe, yeah, that makes sense. And if you block, they take. You take, and the king is going to go forward. You can't defend them. So white has a superior pawn structure in the end. And there you go. Exactly as I said. And now, if rook blocks e6, they're going to take. And then double pawns, which could be exactly. And these guys are connected. Extra pawn on the a file, and that's more than enough for Magnus to win. It's not even grinding, it's just winning here. After bishop blocks, takes, king goes e2 for this. The black king is miles away from protecting. I mean, they just go to the 6th rank if you really want. But this guy's gonna fail. And look at the position. 5 versus 3. All black pawns are isolated. Completely isolated. The 2 white pawn islands are amazing. Perfectly pawn islands here. And I mean, just if you look at this, it's game over. Pawn majority, pawn majority, pawn majority. Whichever way you want to go, it don't matter because white is winning. I don't know what you're playing. Assuming you push this one, not allow the white king, I think we just go this way. Really. Takes. That's it. Game over. And if you defend, just marching with these guys, I guess. It's done, Look at this. Game over. If you go away with the king, this guy's gonna fall. It doesn't matter. Come on. It's game over. And you guys probably know this one very, very, very well here. Okay. Yes, that was to be expected in the Liam and Hans Niemann. The position was very dire. That knight to a5 was an absolute pain of a position. Let me just go back a little bit. That knight a5 was an absolute pain, but you don't really have choices, really. What I said here, that if you really want to induce the biggest frustration for black here, you just play b3, and this guy has to go back on c6. I mean, I don't know where you even go because it don't matter. You can't go c6, right? It's just game over. So game over. It's game over. Yeah, that's finished. Done. Goodbye. It's too much. Too much, because after this move, we're actually having the killing move, which is rook to h7, checkmate. Very well played by Hans Niemann. Very well played. Tough one. Let's see Guki and Anton Guijaro here. Let's see what's going on. That was an interesting position at some point. Queen to f5. Anton's whites here. Now, you got to keep an eye on the h3 due to rook and queen. Perennial attack on h3. You can't just ignore that one. If I was Anton, I'd definitely go bishop f6. Clears the way for the rook. Makes a very strong pawn and bishop formation here. You can't touch that thing very easily. If black kind of ventures, oh my lord. What do you take back? No, you take with a queen. But then there is a check here. Well, then you're going to go king g2, no? Mind you, guys, that's like 20 seconds for each player left here. So there is an increased chance for people just simply blundering sloppy moves, mental pressure, and you just got to go fast. And when you go fast, you're probably going to do some mistakes. He moved away. He didn't take because he wants to avoid problems with the checks and stuff on the king. So rook to h4. Actually, the threat is this, and you can't really stop it now. You can't stop it. What do you do? Where do you go with the king? You can't go nowhere with the king. It doesn't even matter. It's a problem. You can't stop rook to g4, and that just simply loses. Nice one. I think that was a lot of stuff happening in this game. Fabi Shimanov. Alexander Shimanov. Now that's interesting. Rook and king versus what? Black's winning, no? But there's like a billion extra white pawns. That means 2 extra pawns. When I say a billion extra pawns, means 2 pawns. King h2. Well, you do have a check. Exactly. And when you go with this guy, hell knows where, the king's going to come back because then we're going to have checkmate here. So after you retreat the bishop, God knows where, somewhere, there you go. Kings to h2. Do you think you're going to do threefold repetition now? Just asking. Is he going to do threefold repetition? How do you win this with black? The king stays very well where they are. You actually need to have the king to h3, but you can't deliver now unless you play this kind of stuff. But then, oh, he goes for the rook g3. Nice and efficient. He found it. He found it. Now you could have this kind of stuff. Check. Further check. Okay. Probably gonna win it. Alexander Shimanov just lost the game. It's a matter of, it's a formal thing now. A threatening checkmate, actually, fellas. It's a checkmate threat. I don't know where you go. Yeah, this guy can take. You got the more checks. Yeah, he took on f4 check. I guess you could just block. Black with the bishop. And black should win. Yes. He puts the bishop on e3. Not a problem. One minute and something for Fabi. Alexander less than a minute. Alexander Shimanov here. Abdo Satorov 1 versus Maxim Chigayev. Erigaisi 1 versus his connational Narayan. Wesley drew. Daniel Dubov drew against Aravind. Pragnananda versus Denis Lazovic drew as well. Sorry, what the heck is this? Sorry. What? What's going on? Oh yeah, black had won. Sorry guys, I misread. Black is supposed to win. I thought black is I thought black is Fabi. Sorry, is the other fella, Alexander Shimanov with black. So that's another upset. Rook h1 and checkmate. That's the threat, and white can't stop it. That is white, which is Fabi. Sorry, I thought black. Fabi is black. Yeah, I thought, but no. Yes, of course. Rook H1 checkmate. All right, nice and cool. All right, fellas, thanks for watching this. Check the latest videos I've updated on YouTube or TikTok at your convenience. Hopefully, guys, are going to be seeing you tomorrow for another maybe half